I told a room full of people I was ready for a real man. My husband's reaction shocked everyone. Hello, Reddits. My name is Emma, and I'm 35 years old. I need someone, anyone to talk to. Someone to tell me that this is going to be okay. To tell me that maybe I'll get out somehow. Or maybe I'll get a second chance with him. Nobody in my life right now cares about me anymore, and it's really so devastating. My husband Nick has not only thrown me out of the house, but he has ended up ruining everything good about me. He has destroyed my relationship with him and with everybody else. And it's really all my fault. I did something terrible and my husband exposed everything. Everything that I thought I was keeping a secret. Everything that I thought would never get leaked no matter what. I thought I was perfectly good at hiding it, but clearly not because Nick found out and he has ruined my life with that piece of information. I was angry, livid in fact. Nick had pissed me off. He said something really upsetting to me, and even though it sounded like a joke, I knew it really wasn't. I should have just kept quiet. I should have just sat there and kept my mouth shut instead of wanting to retaliate. I shouldn't have gotten up from my chair and said the things I said. I told a room full of people that I was ready for a real man, because my husband clearly wasn't one, and instead of the reaction I expected, I got the shock of my life. My husband's reaction shocked everyone, myself included. It was just horrible having to be embarrassed and disgraced so thoroughly. I never saw it coming, and I didn't ever think that Nick could do something like that. Nick had always been that loving guy right from the time we dated through our final year in school, until we got married, and even after marriage until that day. Nick never liked violence of any sort or any confrontation. He was nicknamed Peacemaker because of how often he tried to bridge walls between people. I even would always tease him and say he should have been a judge and not the engineer that he is, because of how often he did that. He was kind, patient, and loving, the exact type of every woman's dream man. I felt lucky to have him when we started dating, and it continued like that for the whole 4 years we dated. We dated for 4 years before we finally got married some 3 years ago. We were perfectly happy for those 4 years of dating. In fact, there was nothing that went wrong. Nick was striving in his business, and I too was at the peak of my career. We were envied by our friends. We were even nicknamed the power couple because of how much we would drive ourselves whenever we had a goal. Nick got promotions easily because of how smart he is, and I too got mine. But not because I was smart or brilliant like Nick is. The truth is, I cheated my way through to the top. The position I wanted had always been competitive, and as someone with no experience other than the ones she had from classes with professors in school, I had nothing to give. Well, except the one thing that they were willing to take. I had looked for a job for over 2 years at that point. I was already desperate. Nick was already working. He got the job right after we graduated, and he was earning enough to take care of us both, and he never complained about it either. I was staying with him at that point because I had no money to pay for rent. I was literally broke, save the allowance that Nick would give me at the end of each month, but I was tired of relying on him. It was frustrating to me. I wanted to get a job, but each time I tried, it just ended up disappointingly. So I finally decided to do anything I could to get this particular job. The first time I tried it, the first time I slept with a different man, that wasn't Nick, was when I slept with that director, who was part of the interviewers for the position I wanted. I had to bribe one of the workers there to let me know who it was I could easily meet with, who would be willing to part with a job offer, and she had given me his name. I really hadn't meant to sleep with him at first. I only wanted to beg him, or perhaps persuade him that I was best for the job. You know, an interview before an interview. That was all I really did have in mind when I went to meet him that day. But then he took me to a hotel room and asked me to strip. I felt desperate, like I had no choice. I wanted the job, and if doing that was the only way to get it, then that was what I was going to do. That was my thought when I did as he asked. I slept with that man that night, and I went home with a smile on my face to mask my guilt and dirty secret. Luckily, Nick didn't suspect anything. I got the job truly, and I was happy. I thought I didn't have to repeat what had happened between the man and I again, but I had to, if I wanted to keep the job. He wanted me to warm his bed or his office desk anytime he liked, and this continued for almost 3 months before he was transferred away. I was happy. I was finally free. I didn't have to be his whore anymore or have to deal with the guilt that came right after. But then his position was up for offer. Apparently, the person the management had in mind had refused the offer of that position. He had gotten a new job with better chances and pay, so he quit and left. The management wanted somebody else. I knew they weren't going to select me. I had only been in the company for 6 months then. I didn't have the qualifications for it, but I wanted it. I was greedy for it, and I eventually got it. I slept with 2 different men just so they could vote me in for that position, and I did get the position. Nobody knew what I was doing for the positions I was getting. My friends were only envious. I didn't work as hard as they did in their various workplaces, but yet I managed to badge myself 2 promotions in a year. Nick was happy for me. He even got me a bouquet of my favorite flowers and took me out to dinner to celebrate. Everything went on fine after that. The men didn't demand sex as often. I avoided them mostly, and they couldn't exactly risk anyone finding out about our indiscretions either. They were married with kids, so they left me alone most times. I just had to make excuses or refuse to show up when we made plans, and eventually they stopped trying. My secret became even more perfectly safe when both men transferred out of the state to a different state entirely. I didn't have anything to worry about anymore. Nick proposed to me on our 4th-year anniversary, making everything even more perfect. I got my dream job, and also the love of my life marrying me. There was nothing else I could wish for. We got married within a month after the proposal, and things really were good between us. Nick wanted us to start having kids after we got married. According to him, we had waited for 4 years without having them anyway. But I had a different opinion, even though I never voiced it out. I wasn't ready to be a mama. I wanted to still enjoy myself and not have to be bundled with a child. It was a lot of work, and I could tell because my second friend who had 2 kids was always so tired and complaining about how horrible life was with 2 kids under the age of 5 and being a working-class wife. I didn't want any of that, and besides, I wouldn't be able to work anymore. Well, I felt like that. Not that the company didn't make any provision for working mothers. I just didn't want any of that responsibility. But Nick clearly didn't feel that way. And I didn't bother telling him how I felt either. Just used my birth control pill in secret to be safe. And after a year of trying for a child and having none, Nick had forced us to go to a fertility clinic where we were both declared healthy. But when Nick kept trying, he eventually gave up. I was happy with it. Who needed a third party between us? We were perfect the way we were. But then, something, or should I say someone, had happened in our 3rd year of marriage. I met him. Sam. My assistant was heavily pregnant and had taken her maternal leave, and I needed temporary staff, someone to cover for her while she was gone. Sam had then been brought from the marketing department to replace her temporarily. I didn't like it at first. I thought he wouldn't be able to cope with the demands of my department, and I opposed it, but eventually gave in when the HR kept insisting he was the best person for the job. He was quite good at it to my surprise, well organized and even more efficient than my assistant, despite the fact that it wasn't his own department. I was impressed, and of course I had to work closely with him each day. But for some odd reasons, I started to see Sam a little differently. He wasn't just my assistant anymore. He was this built guy that had this really cute dimple, which was a huge contrast to his huge build that could make him pass as a bouncer. He became interesting to me. I was getting curious about him, and instead of keeping my space, I started getting really close. Sam must have noticed my interest in him, because then he started to make his move. He would compliment what I was wearing, always noticing when I had a new haircut, which I did every week because of how fast my hair grew. He noticed my new lipstick and made me blush when he would comment how well it matched my lips. I truly was putting more effort into my dressing because of him. I liked how he said it. It didn't matter to me that Nick said the same things back home. Nick never missed a new dress or look on me, but then it was the saying. It was a matter of who was saying it. Sam managed to make me feel sexier when he smiled that certain way and checked me out when he thought I wasn't looking, and then told me how beautiful he thought I was. I knew indulging him was the wrongest thing to be doing, but I didn't want to stop. I loved the feeling, and when eventually Sam had taken things into a different level, I was in it with him. I let him kiss me and touch me that evening at the office on what was supposed to be a work meeting. It was me. I started it. I gave him a flirty look and asked him questions that weren't part of what we had to do, and Sam, of course, knowing what I wanted, had taken the bait. He answered me, and then he proceeded to show the answers to my question. I went home that night, smelling like Sam, and I quickly washed off before climbing into bed beside Nick. This time, instead of feeling guilty and dirty like I usually felt with the other men I slept with, I felt beautiful. I felt beautiful, and I kept recalling just the numerous ways Sam had taught me just within minutes of us being together. That was the beginning of our full-blown affair. We were just having fun. Sam knew what was at stake if it ever got out. Our company frowned against workers having anything to do with themselves. And there was the fact that I was married and Sam had a fiancé too, so we knew that our jobs and private lives were at stake if it ever got out. We were careful, always making sure we maintained strict professional working grounds between us around other people. But when we were all alone in the office after everybody else had gone home, or when we eventually moved things to his apartment for more privacy, we were passionate and exploring. Sam did things to me that Nick could never do. He taught me exciting things about sex, and I just couldn't stop wanting more of the experience. But regardless of how careful we were, we almost got caught twice by two different people, but we managed to get them off track. With Sam manipulating skills on hand, and with my convincing award-winning acts, we were able to get out of it. But apparently not for long, because Nick had caught on, and not just catching on. He had proof of everything, which shocked me. The first time we almost got caught was when Sam's fiancée, who had always been out of town because she stayed with her parents and only came around on visits. But this time, she had visited without letting Sam know, and she had the keys to his apartment, so she just let herself in. Luckily, we had heard the key while we were getting down and dirty, and Sam hid me in his wardrobe. I was in there for over an hour before Sam was able to trick his girlfriend into going out for lunch. The second time we almost got caught was when a coworker had seen us together. He almost walked in on us in the office, but I was quick to switch things up. Whether or not he really did continue suspecting us, I have no idea, but I didn't care. He's my junior, and there was no way he had any evidence against us to submit if he ever reported us. So I didn't mind him at all. I know that should have put me off, but it had instead made me even more interested in my relationship with Sam. Nick shouldn't have suspected us. There was nothing to pinpoint my relationship with Sam. I made sure I tied every loose ends, but apparently I didn't do that enough. Or maybe in my attempt, I forgot to see that pretending and lying for so long tended to catch up with you eventually. Perhaps it was a message on my phone. That day, I left my phone lying carelessly in the room. Perhaps because I was growing too confident in my skills as an actress. A message from Sam asking if we were still meeting up at his place that evening. Nick didn't behave as if he had seen anything, though, when I came back into the room after having my bath. He only was exceptionally quiet, but didn't behave oddly, so I felt there was nothing to worry about. Maybe it was that one time when he had seen me taking a detour, instead of going home directly after work, after telling him I was still at work. Nick had apparently seen me leaving the office that afternoon, and when I didn't come home, he had called me, and I lied that I was stuck up at work. Nick confronted me about it, and I lied swiftly that I was trying to buy his birthday gift early. And because of that lie, I had no choice but to eventually set up a birthday party for Nick. It was that same party that I had said that nasty comment, and Nick had proceeded to ruin me that night. Nick started to behave really oddly 2 weeks to his birthday party that I was planning. He was coming home late and sometimes never even showing up. He wouldn't even call me like he always did to let me know where he was. He wouldn't pick my calls. He barely even spoke to me whenever he was home. He just was stuck to his phone and laptop. I assumed it was just a deadline. Nick was always like that whenever he had some work deadline. Not as extreme as this was, but I just concluded that that was what was wrong. He didn't suspect anything or know anything. He couldn't have. Nobody could have. But I was so wrong because days later in the party I put up for Nick, everyone was staring at me like some monster. I didn't even know it escalated that fast into something I couldn't even handle. One minute I was smiling and laughing as people complimented me, calling Nick lucky for having someone like me, and then everything just went downtown. The day began really awkwardly. Nick had left the house very early before I even woke up at all, so I didn't get to do what I did each morning of his birthday, when I would hand him his gift and then kiss him while singing a birthday song. We usually ended up having sex each time, and I thought this time wouldn't be different. I even bought a new sexy lingerie to seduce Nick, but he was gone before I even got up. So I settled for giving him his birthday present at the party. It was in our place, so I managed to set up the house. We were having a few of our friends over. I knew that because I invited them myself. But I was surprised when my parents and even Nick's parents showed up. They said Nick had invited them over. They came with a few other people too. The house was full of people by afternoon. I had to order more food and more drinks so everyone could get something to eat and drink. By evening, the party was bubbling without the birthday boy. He eventually turned up after so many unanswered calls and texts from him, and when he did, he gave me no explanations as to why he ignored my phone calls. I tried to keep my anger in because I didn't want any time knowing that something was wrong. But halfway through the party, when everyone kept complimenting our marriage and me, some of my friends were even teasing me about giving them tips to maintain a happy relationship and a career. But then Nick had snorted and told everyone that I wasn't perfect and that my flaws were probably bigger than the perfection I showed to the world. He smiled after he said what he said, as if to soften the effect of his words, and everyone clearly thought he was joking because they laughed. But I knew it wasn't, and I knew it had to do with the reason he kept avoiding me all week and the week before that. I said nothing after his not-so-funny remark, and then someone else had commented on the food, asking me for the recipe. But Nick had answered before I could even do so myself. He told her that I couldn't cook to save my life. I was really pissed, but still kept it in. The last straw had been when Nick's mom asked me if we planned for any kids anytime soon, and Nick had answered and said maybe when heaven fell and earth was above. I was so angry, and I remember just standing up and shouting that he wanted a real man, and that I wanted one who would clearly treat his wife right in public. I didn't mean it that way. I was just pissed, and I had said that just to get back at him for the wicked comments. But Nick had laughed instead of feeling offended. He just laughed, and then he took his phone and then sent a text. I knew it was a text because while he kept staring at me with that wicked smile on his face, everyone's phones were beeping except mine. My mother had been the first to react. She gasped and started crying. My mother-in-law looked at me, and for the first time, it was with hatred and not love this time. And everyone started to really look at me differently, with hate and disgust. I didn't understand what was happening until I snatched a phone from my friend's hand just to understand what was going on. I was shocked to find the video of Sam and I having sex right inside our house. It was that one time Hey Nick had traveled for work and I was so horny and had Sam to come over. It was only that one time. I never have him over again because I didn't want any of our nosy neighbors telling Nick about it. And it seems that one time, which had been a week ago, had the nailing needed on my coffin. I never even knew that Nick had planted cameras around the house. I thought I was perfectly safe, but it was the exact opposite because there it was, playing on everyone's screen. I didn't need to look at anyone's faces to realize just how doomed I was. So I kept staring at the video until my friend snatched her phone out of my hand and left after telling me to lose her number. After she left, everyone started to leave one by one, but not without some biting remark of some sort. But I didn't mind. The only thing that concerned me was how Nick felt about me at that moment. And I got to find out a few minutes later when he rolled my luggage to me and asked me to leave. It was only then I understood the gravity of what I had done. I tried to beg Nick to listen to me, but he wasn't listening. He had enough evidence of my infidelity. He just told me he wanted a divorce and he wanted nothing to do with me. I was so shocked, and I stood there for hours trying to process things. It's been a week since then, and I still haven't been able to process things fully. I don't know what to do, to be honest. Life just keeps getting hard and harder. I got fired from work because Nick had not only sent the evidence to the management, he had somehow been able to get the video leaked into the general group so everyone could see. Both my juniors and seniors at work all had the same look as everyone who had found out on Nick's birthday party. I was fired that very day, and I was sure the same thing went for Sam because he called me and was being hysterical, blaming me for all his misfortune. Apparently, Nick had also somehow gotten Sam's girlfriend's number and sent her the video too. I've lost not only my job, but my name, my reputation, and my life in general. Everything just keeps falling apart, including the roof of the room I rented out. My parents wouldn't even pick my calls, and my siblings are also trying their best to avoid me. I'm like a plague. And bad news spread faster even without the internet because within that 1 week, it seemed like everyone knew my story and everyone was talking about me. They all knew the bad wife who cheated with her subordinate at work. It's so exhausting being me right now. And there's the fact that no matter how desperately I try to reach out to Nick, He never just picks my calls or responds to my texts. He had changed the house keys, and I haven't been able to reach him. Even the nice security guard at his workplace who always teased me wasn't smiling with me anymore when he ordered me to leave the premises. I don't know what to do, and my life just keeps shrinking, and it feels awful being alone. I feel so lonely it's almost choking. Is there any way to get past this? Is there really any way to ever stop feeling like this piece of garbage? Is there a way to cure myself of my guilt, pain, and regrets? I guess there's really no way. I might be stuck feeling like this forever, feeling so horrible and wishing I hadn't done the things I did. Or will I ever get over this? Update. Hello, Reddits. It's been 2 months since I last posted here. It's been so difficult for me to come back here again, not because I haven't wanted to, but because of you guys. Your comments and cruelly crafted words have just ended up ruining me even further. I ended my last post with a question, and I know most of you knew that it had been a rhetorical question, and yet you still managed to slash me and insult me for daring to think that. I know you guys hate me, and I really did expect some insults and judgment, but I certainly was not expecting this much. You guys make my depression worse. I knew I did an awful thing. I thought coming here was some sort of way of getting over my pain and guilt. I thought if I came here, I would be able to lift the burden of regrets off my heart, but I've only ended up adding to it. With the way your wicked backlashing comments had made me become, I wouldn't expect that I'm back here again. But here I am, trying yet again to explain myself to people who understand nothing about how I feel, or rather couldn't care less. But I'm so lonely, and all of these pent-up emotions is killing me slowly. I feel so choked up with my feelings. Being stuck with nothing but the consequences of your choices isn't very flattering. Each day feels like a new torture weapon, bent to ruin me even further. I know you guys don't care about how I feel. I know you will probably write another deprecating comments again under this post, but I cannot just bring myself to stop writing this. It's so awful that the only people I could get to hear me out treat me like a piece of disturbing gum. It's not your fault, it's all mine. I did this to myself, and I know that I will forever bear the brunt of it all. But it's just so exhausting dealing with me every time. My head's like a broken recorder replaying every moment on that day when I thought I had every right to say the things I was saying. I keep remembering how Nick had looked at me. He had set a trap, and I fell right into it. He set a bait, and I took it without even thinking at all. He wanted to push me to say something, which he knew I would if he pushed me that hard, and I had done exactly as he wanted, and then he had gone ahead to just explode everything right in my face. I remember the way he had smiled while watching me watch the video he sent to everyone. He didn't have to say anything else. The video did the talking. I couldn't even ask how he found out or suspected enough to set cameras around the house, which I was completely unaware of. I regret everything so much now. There was no need to cheat. I behaved totally in a wanton way, and I feel so ashamed of myself. I should never have done the things I did. I keep remembering every single moment I got down and dirty with those men, making those excuses in my heart that I needed it, that Nick didn't know so it couldn't harm him, that I was doing it for the greater good. I realize now just how selfish my reasoning had been. Nick never complained when I didn't get a job. I could have gotten something else. I could have even been a housewife, and Nick wouldn't crucify me for it. I wonder if Nick found out about the other men I slept with. I wonder if he knew about the pills. I feel so ashamed remembering everything I had done to ruin my marriage. I wonder if I had really stopped taking those pills if I would be pregnant or have a baby with Nick by now. Maybe then I wouldn't have been able to focus on stupid things like a career that is absolutely and well destroyed now. No one would hire me. I worked at such a huge company and got nothing like a recommendation letter. Even if I did get an offer at another company, a call to the company I used to work with will have me fired in less than a day. Working as a part-timer in a diner is just horrible because of how stressful the job is and how little the pay is. But then I have no other choice. I guess I laid my bed, and now I have to lie in it. Cheating with Sam was the biggest mistake of my life. There was no reason at all to have cheated. I was only a selfish and greedy woman, and I found new ways to invent cheating when I didn't have saving my work or promotion as an excuse. Cheating on Nick with a coward like Sam is just so disappointing. I should never have. He hadn't called me since that day he did call to blame me for everything that has gone wrong in his life, and to be honest, I couldn't care less. I'm just really sad that I threw my perfect relationship with Nick for someone like him. The thoughts that Nick would probably move on one day with another woman who would know his worth, who would understand just how spectacular he is and will treat him as well as he should have been treated. A woman so beautiful that Nick will remember nothing of me other than a biased decision he made towards helping someone like me who still ended up disappointing him. A woman who will love him the way he deserves to be loved, and she would cherish him and treat him right. A woman who definitely never cheats or behaves as wantonly as I have. A woman who is not me. My head hurts, and my heart just squeezes more painfully, thinking about all the opportunities I have for over 3 years to understand just how important Nick was to me, but I refuse to see it. And now that I've lost that chance, I'm seeing it clearly. I'm seeing it so clearly, and it hurts so badly. Now that I have no one on my side, no one to tell me that it would be all right, that I will get by even though it's a lie because I know there's no getting past this. But I have no one, absolutely none, to tell me just how to get by. I wonder if Nick still thinks of me. He probably doesn't. Or maybe he does, but all he remembers is this version of me. Not the one he had dated for 4 years and then was married to for 3 more. He probably hates me, and just that thought of Nick hating me makes me hate myself even more. I feel so stupid for ever allowing things to get this far. I could have stopped all of these. I could have avoided it all, but I was too selfish, thinking about myself alone, and I had ended up ruining the best thing I had. Now that I'm without him in my life, it feels so empty and cracked. Nick had never in all our years of marriage given me reasons to doubt his love and loyalty towards our family. He never gave me reasons to doubt his faithfulness, and yet all I thought of or could think of was cheating on him because of the version of the truth I twisted. I have no one on my side, absolutely no one. No one even calls me or asks me how I'm doing. Ever since that party, no one cares enough to check in on me. They've all avoided me. Well, ignored would be a better word for what they're doing. Even my parents still wouldn't speak to me. My friends have all kept away since then, and it feels so lonely. All I have is this silence that surrounds me every day. The only noise is that of my mind, repeatedly recounting the loss I have endured as the consequences of my sins. Words can really not encompass just how regretful I am right now. I've lost everything, and it's nobody's fault but mine. All mine. I've gone ahead and pushed too hard until my marriage is now shattered so badly into millions of pieces that even if I spent years piercing together, I still wouldn't be able to get it done. Not even halfway. I feel so broken. I'm so broken, and it hurts. It hurts so badly being like this, feeling like this. I wish there was something I could do to make it less painful, to make my heart stop squeezing so tight that it hurts to even breathe properly every day. It hurts knowing that there's no fixing what I broke. It hurts knowing that I will never get a second chance. It hurts really badly, and I don't think that I could ever get beyond it. I will always be stuck like this, feeling this much pain and regrets, wishing for something that had always been mine before, but now can never be ever again. I've lost the best thing that I could have ever had. I've done too much to ever take it back, and I know I'll never find something as good. Not now. Not never. There's no replacing a relationship that lasted for as long as Nick's and I had lasted. It's hurtful knowing I can never go back. I could never make amends. And even if I did, no matter how hard I tried, Nick will never see me the same way again. He will never forgive me or look at me with love in his eyes. There's the agony of remembering his eyes alone just after discovering he had found out about the horrible things I did. Talk less of a lifetime of viewing me with that same lens, or even something deeper, something with deeper resentment and hatred for me. I know that I will spend my lifetime serving this jail time of no Nick in my life, and it's just horrible that 2 months are like this already. I wonder fearfully just how months or even years of staying like this would do to me. I'm scarred for life. I'm scarred by my own mistakes and branded by my regrets, and it's hurtful knowing that this might continue to be my life. This is the last time I will be posting here, guys. I hope you learned something from my sad and miserable life, regardless of how much you hate me. Thanks and goodbye.